Hello everyone, it's Joel Davis with the United Medical Transportation Providers Group, and you are the broker.com, helping you to build a highly effective and highly profitable broker business. Well, welcome back to America. I have just returned from the great country of Italy after spending the month there. So it was great to get away, but it's also good to be back. I have a lot to do. Needless to say, I have a lot to do, but while I was gone, my team shared with me a great video, so I just checked it out. It was sitting here when I got back, and it gave me a top priority because it speaks to so many important points associated with your medical transportation business and how it's going to affect it in the future. So check out this following video that was produced by CNBC. They did a great job. I know I've shared some similar to this before and previously, but check this one out because it specifically talks about elderly population, picking people up, things of that nature. So check this out, and then I'll meet you on the back end so I can offer some quick tidbits of information.
In a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona, there's a fleet of 600 minivans shuttling people from place to place. Ordering one feels almost exactly like calling an Uber, except for one thing. The vans are driving themselves.
It does feel like from when I first got in that it is just a normal car.
Their vehicles are all over our roads. I don't think you could stand at a street corner or drive a couple miles without seeing a Waymo vehicle.
I know that some of this technology is scary for many of our citizens, but I think if you see other times in our economic arc, that this has really opened up new worlds for people and new opportunities.
This is my 33rd year in policing, and when I started in policing, we had vehicles, obviously, but there were no computers, there were no cell phones, pagers weren't in existence yet. So to see this technology in relatively a short 30-year span is just absolutely fascinating.
In 2004, the U.S. Department of Defense hosted a 142-mile driverless car obstacle course competition. The farthest any of the entrants got was a little over 7 miles.
And off we go. Good try, guys.
The next year, the DoD tried again. This time, 5 vehicles completed the course, but a team from Stanford did it the fastest. That Stanford team was led by a computer scientist named Sebastian Thrun.
So I didn't anticipate this to become a race for speed. It's one of the most thrilling races ever.
In 2007, Google hired Thrun, and he created Google X. 2 years later, Google X launched a self-driving car project. In 2016, that project spun off as its own company called Waymo under Google's parent company, Alphabet.
Here's an example of the Waymo Chrysler Pacifica minivan. There's nobody driving. There's nobody behind the wheel.
The company says it's tested its vehicles in over 25 cities in 6 states, but the most miles seem to have been driven around Phoenix, Arizona.
From the police department's point of view, our mission is to keep our city safe. So we recognize this technology as something that could really impact our roadways, because the overwhelming majority of collisions are preventable.
You get in the car and you have a seat and it has a start button, and it's pretty trippy when you see the fact that the car is driving itself.
It's amazing to see how well the brain processes information as a driver, to see the car do the same exact thing. It's great to be a part of history. For my kids to experience. My daughter actually liked it a lot, didn't she?
Right now, Waymo is doing 2 main things in the Phoenix area. Around 1,000 members of the community have access to its rideshare beta program, Waymo One. Users can summon one of Waymo's 600 vehicles 24/7 and ride anywhere within a limited local region. And these users are actually paying for the rides. It's not just a free demo. It also has a partnership with Lyft and makes 10 of its vehicles available to the general public via Lyft's app.
I probably use Waymo maybe 10% of the time. The biggest limiting factor is that it only goes in a certain defined area, mostly in Chandler and Tempe and maybe a little bit of Mesa. If it went all the way downtown, I would probably take it a whole lot more.
The reason Waymo is limited to a small region is because its cars are autonomous, but only in specific locations. Everywhere it can drive has been carefully mapped and analyzed so that even before sensing anything new, the vehicle already has a good sense of where it is. The Society of Automotive Engineers came up with a set of standards defining the levels of autonomy a vehicle could be, ranging from 0 to 5. And right now, Waymo's vehicles are at a 4, capable of full autonomy, but only sometimes.
Tesla refers to its driver assist systems as autopilot. Nobody in the industry thinks that's the case. Waymo and General Motors Cruise Automation are very close to having what they refer to as level 5 cars most of the time.
So right now it's standard for Waymo vehicles to have safety drivers behind the wheel at all times, ready to take over if something were to go wrong. And beyond that, there's a team of support staff on call to help riders. The vehicles are constantly maintained by a team of people, they're cleaned by a team of people. While the driving itself is done mostly by a computer, the system is still dependent on human labor.
Now, a lot of the business promise and also the hope for these machines, these autonomous vehicles, is that they eliminate labor and they eliminate the need for human beings to drive and to be stuck in jobs like delivering pizzas or picking up the elderly or the blind from their homes and taking them to services, whatever it needs to be. When we think through that a little more carefully, though, some of the chinks in that idea show up. For example, think of something like Meals on Wheels. The vehicle shows up, it opens the door, there's the meal. Maybe they can get out to the curb to get it, maybe not. Even if they could, though, when that human driver shows up with a meal on wheels, they actually come to the door. Maybe they sit for a little bit. So it's this human interaction that's still very much a part of these transportation functions.
I think there's still a ways to go before they're ready for prime time on the roadways, but we want to be helpful in the testing of it, and then we want to make certain that whether it's at the state level or the federal level, that all of those regulations and rules are being properly followed.
Developing vehicles that adhere to strict safety protocols, including speed limits, has occasionally been a point of contention for other human drivers on the road.
There's been some experience where, because our Waymo vehicles actually follow the rules and the law, that some people who tend to be in a rush get bothered by that. So there's a transition that's going to happen.
But with rideshare companies like Lyft and Uber struggling to be profitable, for them, leaning into self-driving cars could make sense.
As we saw from the Lyft and Uber IPOs, it does not appear to be a path to profitability for ride-hailing services with human drivers. Even buses, where operating the vehicle is very expensive, the vehicle itself, the major portion of that expense is the driver.
The future of autonomous vehicles is more likely to be in the form of ride-sharing fleets that you can borrow when you need, but no actual car ownership. So I think they see an opportunity in cars that'll be able to transport things, transport people, but not so much around car ownership. And it's still a little bit unclear as to where they see the biggest money coming from, but at least that's where it's evolved to.
In March 2018, a woman named Elaine Herzberg was killed by an Uber self-driving car just 13 miles from Waymo's office. But it didn't slow Waymo down.
It was business as usual in Chandler. The next day, just as many vehicles were on the road. It was an unfortunate incident for another company, but again, Waymo has had an extremely conservative business model and safety protocols that they had really weathered that storm well.
We were very saddened, of course, by what happened in Arizona. Our hearts go out to the family and all those impacted by the crash. At Waymo, our focus has always been safety.
In our city, there have been no collisions where the Waymo has been at fault. So you can take that any way you want as an indicator, but it's such a small sample size. Certainly, we anticipate the more of these vehicles out there functioning at the level that they're expected to function at, if it takes away that human element, it potentially could have a very positive impact on the roadways.
Some people have asked, is it actually safe? When you are inside, do you get nervous, or, do you think anything is going to go wrong? And I said, well, no, there's always a driver, at least while they're still getting the technology, hammered out.
Waymo is way ahead of everybody else in terms of the technology. They have these disengagement reports in California. They disengage a lot less, a lot fewer times than anybody else.
I think the robot drivers are probably actually better than the human drivers.
Arriving shortly at your destination. Please keep your seatbelt fastened until we reach your destination, and remember to take all your belongings with you.
Proponents of autonomous vehicles make compelling claims about the potential benefits of self-driving cars.
94% of all crashes are due to human error. 42 hours are wasted sitting in traffic per person per year in the US. That's an entire working week every year. And millions more people aren't able to drive because they're elderly or living with a disability. And self-driving cars have the potential to change all of that for all of us.
I think these cars and automobiles and trucks provide a real opportunity for the state. There's a lot that can be done for disabled people, for blind people, for elderly people. So many of the deaths that happen on our roads are a result of human error, and I believe these autonomous vehicles can provide higher public safety, and that really is the objective.
But it's just not clear these things would actually happen with more self-driving cars on the road.
One of the things I often hear from people is when an autonomous vehicle is better than the 50th percentile driver on the road, we have an absolute responsibility to let them onto the road. Others, like Elon Musk, have said it's almost irresponsible not to have these vehicles out there because they are safer and will be safer than human drivers. That's not been proven. It presents a problem, which is people dying on the road or crashing and so forth, and saying, well, therefore you need this solution. But of course, there are a lot of solutions, and one of the solutions we see right now are things like autonomous braking, lane keeping assist, all of these driver assist systems which take a good driver and make them better. And so even if we could say that an autonomous vehicle was better than a human driver, it doesn't mean that an autonomous vehicle is better than a human driver plus all of the advanced driver assist systems we have.
And if the goal is safety above all else, there are other less complicated things that could be done. For example, since speeding is known to be one of the top causes of car accidents, members of the European Parliament recently provisionally agreed to require all vehicles sold in Europe to include mandatory speed limiters.
A lot of the promises about autonomous vehicles are around congestion and particularly safety. They are kind of a silver bullet, Silicon Valley, a tech bro solution to the problem of road deaths. There's a much less exciting solution to road deaths, and particularly in urban areas, and it's called Vision Zero. And the premise is pretty straightforward. It says, let's start with safety, and then let's add mobility. The current idea around driving and around cars is, let's get as much mobility as we can, and then let's start to make things safer. Whether or not autonomous vehicles are safer than human drivers is in a lot of ways beside the point. They're more lucrative than selling cars to people. They're more lucrative than selling rides driven by human beings.
So while there are other potentially better solutions, updating infrastructure and making policy changes is never going to be as interesting to most people as cars that can drive themselves.
With the new technology, there's going to be a time period where you have to, give it a try and work out the bugs. Like if there's a computer program, I don't think I've ever seen somebody code something and hit run and it works perfectly the first time. You have to give it some real world experience, and so you know that not everything is going to work perfectly right off the bat.
I used to say a year ago that I was sitting in a diner and looking out the door at 6 a.m. and I saw in the span of an hour 12 Waymo vehicles. That was trumped about 6 weeks ago when I saw about 30 Waymo vehicles at intersections, and I don't know if it was a parade or whatever, but they're just all over our streets, and it's a good relationship.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. Listen, you know it and I know it. I've been sounding the alarm for a long time. Technology is here to stay. It's going to continue to exponentially grow and expedite, which is going to lead to autonomous cars. I mean, look, they're here. Autonomous cars, driverless cars, autonomous trucks, driverless trucks. They're here to stay. They're part of the future. They're rapidly expanding. There's so many different manufacturers and technology companies that are investing billions upon billions upon billions of dollars into the technology. And look, it's here. It's just a matter of all the regulation and the overall mindset of people to accept it and to make it more palatable and literally put them on the road in mass scale. But it's here. So with that being said, I hope that you pay attention to that video, because he specifically talks about, one of the speakers there specifically talked about using this technology for number one, eliminating labor costs. So for all of you Uber and Lyft drivers who've sent me all your hate mails, and again, I've told you, I'm not some great fortune teller, or I can't predict the future, but I can tell you what's here and what's coming. And so for all of you Uber and Lyft drivers who told me that sent me the nasty emails that told me that I'm crazy, I'm mean, I'm disrespectful, all that type of deal, it's not Joel Davis making this up. It is what it is. And I'm just conveying what's there. I'm presenting you with what's there. So like one of the expert speakers on that production by CNBC said, one of the sole purposes is to, safety, but also eliminate labor costs. So if you're an Uber and Lyft driver, you own a job, you were completely leveraged for them to build their platform, and all the while they're working to make you obsolete. So you're going to be out of a job. So I've been telling you this for how long? You've seen this coming. If you are a truck driver, you've seen this coming for years. So I don't even feel bad for you if you're not even working to transition, because the autonomous technology is making your job useless. And I've been sounding the alarm for all you paratransit drivers and all the fixed route guys. You're on borrowed time. So do we know that there's opportunity in the medical transportation space? Of course there is, but you've got to be heavily invested into the wheelchairs and stretcher. Can you still do some ambulatory? Sure, to supplement what you're doing. But again, this technology is going nowhere. Now, one thing that I hope you picked up on, if you'll recall, a little snippet, a little segment where they were talking about how they had that accident, the fatality last year or 2 years ago. I think it was in Arizona. And I remember when I was sharing similar videos, I remember I specifically got an email from someone specifically pointing to that. So this was shortly after that fatality. It was in the news. It was big news online. And someone sent me an email saying, "See, Joel, it's not safe. It's going to slow it down." And I said, no. I said, it's not. If anything, it's going to expedite it, because after investing billions upon billions upon billions of dollars in this technology, you're not going to get it back in Pandora's box. So technology is here to stay. And with that fatality, all it's going to do is further exponentially increase the rate at which they develop and implement this technology, because safety is of obvious concern. So sure enough, if you caught that little snippet where they talked about that fatality, they didn't skip a beat. They were still in operation the very next day. So yeah, the fatality is obviously unfortunate, but it's nowhere is going to impede the progress or the development or the implementation. So I hope you enjoyed that video, but the moral of the story is, and I'm going to continue to keep sounding the alarm, is the autonomous cars, the rideshare to eliminate the labor costs with rideshare. And yeah, I get it. It will make safety is of concern. So all of this autonomy is, some of it is in an effort to make the enhanced safety, but also for all these technology companies to make a lot of money. So I don't expect you to, some of you who are watching this, I don't expect you to, this message to be well received, if you will, because again, I know some of you who are still driving for Uber and Lyft, and you contact us, which is great. I want your emails, but just understand the technology is here. I understand this message may not be well received, but it is what it is. So I encourage you, if you're committed to the medical transportation industry, that's awesome. LA population is going to grow, so the demand is there, but you've got to be heavily invested in the wheelchairs and the stretchers, because the autonomous vehicles, the autonomous technology can eliminate a great deal of labor costs, make things more efficient. I get all that. But there are still so many clients and customers and patients who are in that hospital, who are in that nursing home, who need help and assistance, and you need to be that door-through-door service, not a door-to-door service, not a curb-to-curb service. You need to be that door-through-door service that actually goes into the hospital, goes into the nursing facility, actually transfers the patient into the wheelchair, onto the stretcher, and then loads them into your car or into your van, unloads them, takes them into the appointment, things of that nature. That's where the true quote-unquote safety is in being invested in the medical transportation business. And that's also another reason why you want to further increase your rates of reimbursement. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you learned something. Many of you, this is the same old song. I get it, but I just want to put out more evidence to further prove the point here. So again, thank you all for your emails. While I was gone last month in Italy, I know we've received a lot of emails. I'm going to try to respond to some of them. I'm just going to tell you up front, I won't be able to respond to all of them. I definitely won't be able to make videos for all of them. We have a lot to do in a short period of time, especially because we have the roundtable gathering coming up here in a couple of few weeks here in Atlanta. So for those of you who made your reservation, love it. Looking forward to seeing you. We got some great people coming. Sold out event. Love it. I'm going to drop a lot of knowledge on you. It's going to be a great opportunity for you guys to really dig into your business, explore your business, explore possibilities, how to leverage your business as a great platform to do bigger things. So I look forward to speaking and meeting and working with all of you in Atlanta. So it's going to be a great opportunity. So thanks so much for watching this video. As always, I'll see you at the top.